Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. It's just me here today. I figured, with the All-Star Weekend coming up, in a week or two from now, they're going to announce the teams and who's in the special events. Now is a good time to make my predictions while not too much has been spoiled other than like one or two people in the Saturday night events. So, that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be a pretty short episode. Sadly, no mini game at the end today, but I'll be making my predictions, and you guys can kind of let me know what you guys think. So the first thing we got is on Friday night for the All-Star Weekend. We always had the Celebrity All-Star Game, and we always had the Rising Stars Challenge. And starting with the Celebrity All-Star Game, there's going to be two teams. I think there's going to be 10 people on each team, so 20 celebrities. And I think the first team is going to be head coached really by Chris Mullin, who is a former Indiana Pacer. And I think their specialty coach is going to be someone from Indiana, and that being Larry Bird. I think that it would be kind of cool. Maybe the specialty coach even has some play in the actual game, like maybe even just for a possession or two. But we'll see. That's up to the league to decide. And I also have, from last year, I have 6 returning people. Most of the people I have are from like Indiana or very close to or have some ties. But I also have some returning people from last year that I think would probably get a chance to be invited back in and would more than likely say yes. So the first person I have on Team Chris Mullin, and I have him split too, 3 on each team. The first person I have, though, on Team Chris Mullin is Kane Brown. He's a multiple-time AMA award-winning artist. He's done this the last 3 years. This would be his 4th year. He's never won MVP, so I think it would be good for him to do it again. Maybe until he wins an MVP, or maybe he just likes playing basketball. Who knows? I think next person I have on here is Jake Short. Now, this is someone who is an actor who really kind of started out, I guess, on Disney Channel. He's done other things since, but also he does like YouTube stuff, like podcasts, whatever. So I think he'd be kind of cool to get in here. He's from Indiana. So it might be nice to kind of, get him in here, especially to kind of pertain to not really the younger audience, but kind of like the audience around my age per se. Next person I have in here is Glenn Robinson. He is a, former NBA player, as we know. Obviously his son played in the league, but he was, really good. And someone else who also is from Indiana. I think it just makes sense. He's only about like 50 years old. So I don't think he's not at the point where he's too old, where he's like, I can't do this. But he's also not at the point where he's just out of the league, and it would almost make it like unfair, if that makes sense. Another person I have in here is DK Metcalf. This is someone who won the MVP last year. Even though it wouldn't run over with the NFL anyways, because the All-Star Weekend is the weekend after. His team's not in the playoffs, so I think he's probably just like doing his own thing right now. It'd be kind of cool to see him come back. He was one of the highlights definitely last year as the MVP. Especially, I think he threw down a couple dunks, which we hadn't seen in a long time in the celebrity game. I think the last time was like when Usain Bolt did it or something. So it'd be cool to have him back. But he was in it last year. So was Kane Brown. And the next person and the last person on this team that I have coming back from last year, I have Guillermo Rodriguez. Jimmy Kimmel's sidekick or pal, you would say. Listen, I know he wasn't good, but he always goes to the NBA Finals and occasionally All-Star Weekend to interview and stuff like that. He's more than likely going to be there anyways. You might as well just put him in the game, especially again. He was kind of a fan favorite. Why not put him in? Next person I have is Skylar Diggins. Obviously, she's from Indiana, and she went to college at Notre Dame. And she's, she could satisfy the WNBA player being in this game. I think it would be kind of cool to have her in it. I think she might have done it once before, too. So bringing her back into it would be kind of cool. And it would be as someone who, is a Notre Dame fan, it would be kind of cool to see. Now, next person I have in here is Flight Reacts, who's a content creator. Most people know Flight Reacts, but, he's kind of like, I guess, like maybe the biggest face on YouTube for like 1v1s, even though he's really not that good. But I think it'd be cool. He'd kind of bring an energy that like Patrick Beverley brought. When Patrick Beverley won the play-in and he got on the table and he was celebrating, I could see Flight Reacts doing that for making 1 shot or 2 shots in the Celebrity All-Star game. And maybe he could even win over the people, win over the crowd. Like, I don't know. I feel like that'd be something that I would want to see. And if I'm the league, I'm getting on that ASAP because, having flight reacts in the game, a lot of kids, a lot of the younger audience is definitely going to be watching. I just think it's a good move. But yeah, and next person I have on this team is Jim Gaffigan, who's a comedian. I don't really have too much to say about him, although I don't really know what his basketball background is per se, but I know he's from Indiana, and usually they try to get a comedian or two. Next person I have in here might seem a little out of reach, but I put Janet Jackson. Now, I mostly put her on here, and I was thinking, I don't know at first, but I also put her on here because I remember last year she had a concert, I believe, at Atlanta for Game 6 of the Celtics-Hawks game when that was scheduled, but obviously, then Trae Young hit a shot, and the Hawks ended up winning, which really saved their season, and then it had to push her concert back. Jason Tatum apologized, and I think she sent something else out to them saying like it was all cool and stuff like that. So maybe she could, kind of, pay the NBA back a favor in a collab and maybe do something like this. I think it could be cool. The last person I have in here is Brendan Fraser. I'm not too familiar, I guess, with him, but he's a Canadian-American actor. And it seems like he's one of the more popular acting faces in Indiana, so it would be kind of cool. Now on the other team, I have Alex English as the coach. He's also someone who played for the Pacers. Very little amount of time, but he did play for the Pacers. And then the special honorary coach, I have Oscar Robertson, who also is, wasn't born in Indiana, but he went to high school and stuff like that in Indiana. So I think it'd be really cool to, have him and Larry Bird as the honorary coaches, arguably 2 top 10 players ever. And then, Alex English and Chris Mullin, 2 top 75, top 100 players ever, arguably. I think it'd be kind of nice. And former Pacers. So the first person I have on this team, though, I have Alex Toussaint, who's an athlete. He was in it the last couple of years. He won MVP 2 years ago, but he did do it again last year, which tells me he might want to do it again. So, maybe he's trying to go for double MVPs. We'll have to see. The next person I have in here is Bradley Stephen Perry, and this is a big reason, too, why I wanted to put Jake Short in here, because if they were to ask him to be in it, Jake Short and Bradley Stephen Perry, they do a podcast together. They're like 2 of the best friends, probably. And it would just be kind of cool, especially because, I watched both these guys growing up, but I probably watched a lot more Bradley Stephen Perry, mostly for when he was, Gabe on Good Luck Charlie. So if he was in there, I don't even know how good either of them are at basketball, but I would definitely be interested in watching this. So, yeah, and it could also create, a big rivalry. Imagine, these are 2 guys who were on the same show together. I think they were on Mighty Med together. I was thinking Lab Rats, but no, they were on Mighty Med together. And obviously, again, like I said, they had the podcast together. It would just be really cool. And seeing them go at it, even if they're both really bad, I'd be down for it. So, yeah. Next person I have on here is Bonzi Wells as a former NBA player. This could be biased, mostly because he's from Muncie. He went to Ball State University. That's where I went, and he's definitely probably the only notable NBA player to ever come from there. So I think it would be kind of cool to see Bonzi Wells in the celebrity game. We also have Anthony Richardson from the Colts. He's also played basketball, and he's capable of dunking. I've seen on videos. So him and DK Metcalf going at it, I think that would be a really good rivalry. We also have The Miz. I think The Miz has to be brought back, especially considering he hit that half-court shot just a fraction after the buzzer last year. And if that counted, well, it probably still already is one of the greatest celebrity game plays ever. But especially if it had counted, it would have been even cooler. So I got to put The Miz in there. He's got to get redemption. We also got Jackie Young from the Las Vegas Aces, probably the best current WNBA player from Indiana. So I think she probably has warranted a spot in this game if she wanted to be in it. Next person I have in here is Jesser, and that's the last returning person from last year in this. Especially if you have Flight Reacts on the other team and you'd have Jesser on this team, 2 content creators going back and forth at it. kind of from the same community. It could create a little rivalry there. I know Flight and Cash Nasty are more so like rivals, but I think considering Jesser was in it last year and they might want to put one on each team, you might have to pick and choose between Flight and Cash. And I feel like at least from the IRL basketball sense, Cash might be better. He always beats Flight, but I think Flight has probably done more to warrant actually a spot, just because he does so many videos related to it. I also have Mike Epps, who is a comedian from Indiana. Especially if I have Jim Gaffigan on the other side, it would be cool to have one on each team. I also have Jenna Fisher, as she's an actress. I think she's mostly known for being Pam on The Office, but I think she's from Fort Wayne, so got her there. And then the last person I have in here is Don Mattingly, who is from Evansville, and he's a coach for the Toronto Blue Jays. This guy, he was mostly known for playing baseball like growing up, but also he was a multi-sport athlete growing up too. And I think even in high school, he made his all-conference team for basketball. So might be cool to have him in there. I could see it being like Arnie Duncan, like with the no-look passes, or like maybe he's a sharpshooter. He's got that shooting touch. So I would be really interested to see him in this game. And he might be like the sleeper pick for an MVP. Now, getting to that, though, my predictions, I do think Team Alex English would win with honorary coach Oscar Robertson. And I think the MVP probably would be Anthony Richardson. If you remember last year, like the dunks that DK Metcalf did, like I was saying, like the first time that's been done pretty much since like Usain Bolt, it's like having someone who could dunk like that, it really like brings an electrified feeling to the celebrity game. And not just one guy on one team, but also on the other team. I also just think around him, you also got guys like Jesser, Alex Toussaint, Bonzi Wells, Jackie Young, and maybe Don Mattingly. Like, you got a lot of people who have some basketball experience, basketball background, so I think it would be cool, and I think that their team would win. Now, the Rising Stars Challenge, I have 4 teams, and you're going to see why I picked each team, like captain, coach, per se, at the end, but I will, like, rattle them off. So the first team I have, because the last couple of years has been 4 teams of 7, the first team I have is Team Kiki Vandeweghe, who does have some affiliation with the NBA, even still. So I think on his team you'll have Oklahoma City Thunder's Jalen Williams, the Detroit Pistons, Jalen Duren, the Utah Jazz's Keontae George, Charlotte Hornets, Brandon Miller, Houston Rockets, Tari Eason, Charlotte Hornets, Mark Williams, and the San Antonio Spurs, Jeremy Sohan. So Jalen Williams has definitely elevated his game a lot, almost averaging like 20 points per game on one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Jalen Duren has also taken a step up. He's averaging like a double-double right now. Even though the Pistons haven't been great, he's been really good. Keontae George, I mean, what more could you say about this guy? Like, he's someone who's really not afraid of the moment, even though he's a rookie. Like, he plays like he's a veteran. He plays confident all the time, and he's not afraid to take the big shots or make the big plays, and that's a big reason, too, why the Utah Jazz have been playing so well lately. So I got to put Keontae George here because he deserves all the credit in the world right now. So we got him. We also got Brandon Miller. Hasn't maybe been as good as the second overall pick, but he's still been really good nonetheless. Tari Eason's playing about the same as he did last year. Same thing maybe with Jeremy Sohan, and Mark Williams is even taking it a step up. So I got to put all those guys on here. Now, Team David Robinson is the second team, and I got Oklahoma City Thunder's Chet Holmgren, the Portland Trailblazers' Scoot Henderson, the Miami Heat's Jaime Jaquez Jr., the Houston Rockets' Cam Whitmore, the Dallas Mavericks' Derek Lively, the Denver Nuggets' Peyton Watson, and the Golden State Warriors' Brandon Podziemski. Chet should be obvious. He's arguably the Rookie of the Year. He's at least top 2. Scoot, after the first maybe month or so, he's really played well, so I think he definitely will find himself in this game. Jaquez Jr. has arguably been the 3rd best rookie this season, and Cam Whitmore has been playing really well in limited minutes. Derek Lively started the year off really well, maybe kind of slowed down a little bit, but he's still playing really dominant enough that I think he can find himself in the game. Peyton Watson isn't a rookie, but I think he's the only sophomore I have on here that I added from last year that didn't make the game. So I think he's done enough this season helping out the Denver Nuggets after they lost key pieces last year that I think he would get in this game. And Brandon Podziemski, he's gotten an elevated role, especially with like some of the guys out for the Warriors. So the next team I got is Team Dr. J, Team Julius Erving. Who do I have on his team? I have for the Orlando Magic, I have Paolo Banchero. Indiana Pacers, I got Ben Mathurin. The Utah Jazz, I got Walker Kessler. The Detroit Pistons, I got Jaden Ivey. The Orlando Magic, I got Anthony Black. The Golden State Warriors, Trayce Jackson-Davis. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, I got Cason Wallace. Now, Paolo should be obvious. I mean, this guy's in all-star discussions right now. Benedict Mathurin, he's really been playing well, especially lately with Tyrese Halliburton out. But even a little bit before he went out, Walker Kessler is still playing like an elite rim protector. Jaden Ivey, his role has kind of got diminished this year, but I think he still finds himself in here. Anthony Black has had to step up big as a rookie with guards out like Markelle Fultz for the Magic. I think Trayce Jackson-Davis has gotten a lot of minutes with the Warriors' injuries and with Draymond's suspension. And Cason Wallace has still been pretty productive too off the Thunder's bench. I think he finds himself in here. The last team I have is, you probably could have guessed it, it's Team Reggie Miller. The game is in Indiana, and I think Reggie Miller will have a team. And who will he have on his team? I think he'll have, from the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama. From the Blazers, Shaedon Sharpe. From the Kings, Keegan Murray. From the Rockets, Amen Thompson. From the Pistons, Ausar Thompson. From the Rockets, Jabari Smith Jr. And from the Pelicans, Jordan Hawkins. Wemby will definitely be in here. I mean, come on. Same thing with Shaedon Sharpe, who really, actually, I don't think he was in it last year either. So I guess there's two people I added from last year. And I'm a little surprised he didn't make it last year because he's been playing really well this season. Keegan Murray will definitely make it again. He started off a little slow this year, but he's been playing really well the last month or so. I think both the Thompson brothers make it. Ausar has definitely earned it, and Amen Thompson hasn't maybe got as many minutes. He hasn't got as much of an opportunity, but I think the league would really want to put both of them in it, especially just because I think Amen has the talent. He just hasn't really got as much of an opportunity. It might not seem fair to some other guys who have played more and maybe done more, but that's just the way I see it. I think Jabari Smith Jr. will make it. He made it last year. And then Jordan Hawkins has had a lot of the highest scoring games as a rookie this season too, so I think he will be in it. And so that leads us to the prediction time. The quarterfinals, I think Team David Robinson will beat Team Kiki Vandeweghe. I think Team Reggie Miller will beat Team Dr. J, Julius Erving. And that brings us to a finals where Team Reggie Miller against Team David Robinson. I think Team Reggie Miller will win this. And that's why I got the MVP going to Victor Wembanyama on the Spurs. Might seem kind of obvious, but I don't know who's going to stop. I don't know who's going to stop Wemby. It's going to be tough. Like, the only person who maybe could is either Chet or Paolo Banchero. And it'll be really interesting to see how Paolo and Wemby go against each other, because I think Paolo's had the better season. But we'll have to see how that goes, because I don't know. Anything could happen. Should be good to move on to the next event. Now we're on actually NBA Allstar Saturday. The first thing we got is the skills challenge. Now, comforting news is that, one person that's going to be in this has already been announced, but I think it's good news because it sounds like they're moving away from that team format. They had groups of 3 for the same team, and that was just not good for the skills challenge. Let's be real. I don't think anybody really liked it, even when it first happened. It seemed kind of lazy, I would say. So I kind of like having it the way it used to be, having 8 people in it, do a little bracket format. They go through the obstacle course against one another. I think that's what we want to see. So let's start off with the first person I have on here. I have from the Philadelphia 76ers. I think Tyrese Maxey will be in the skills challenge. This is a guy who's elevated his game for sure this year. And I feel like this is really made for him. I'm honestly surprised that he has never been in the skills challenge before, because I think that I could definitely see him. He's a guy I could see holding up the trophy of the skills challenge at the end of the event. Will he, though? I mean, we'll have to see. So that's my first pick for being in this. I think my second pick is going to be from the New York Knicks. I got Jalen Brunson. Um, also had a great year. I feel like a lot of people though like maybe wouldn't want to consider Jalen Brunson for these events, mostly because like I don't know, like he just maybe seems like a guy that's more reserved to himself or something like that. But overall, I feel like if you give him an opportunity to be in the skills challenge, he's definitely going to take it, especially if he gets another nod that could come later in this episode. So that's what I got so far. I got those two. I think for the Pacers, I think Benedict Mathurin will be in it. Um, he will kind of represent, I guess, the Pacers in this event. But he's a guy who definitely has the skills. He's got the tools. I think he can even, reach a higher potential as time goes on. Right now, he's kind of the sixth man for the team and maybe looked at as like maybe the third or fourth best player on the team. But I think as time goes on, he very well could be an all-star in this league. The fourth person I have from the Toronto Raptors, I have Scotty Barnes. This is a guy who will be hard for him to make the All-Star team, but I do think he's deserves some recognition. And that's why I have him making it, because I think that he'd be someone who, especially in the dribbling format, like he'd probably be able to get through that pretty quickly. And I'd be interested to see, like, there's always players that maybe, he's shot the ball pretty well so far from three this year, and I'd be interested to see how that translates to a quick course like this. The fifth person I have on here is actually from the Charlotte Hornets. I have Brandon Miller. Might be a little surprising because I know he hasn't, I guess, maybe had as good of a season as anyone I've listed before him so far. But I think he's kind of a versatile wing that maybe could be a sleeper in this competition. So I got him in here. Another wing, though, that's versatile that I have in here from the Nets, Mikal Bridges. I think that, the Nets, they've been playing well enough that they'll probably have some recognition. I think they'll have some recognition on Allstar Saturday Night. I mean, there's like 20 or so contestants in all the events. One of them should probably be on the Nets, and especially because they have like a wide range of talent. Spencer Dinwiddie's already done this event multiple times. I feel like they'll probably go a different direction and pick Mikal Bridges. Next up, I have Victor Wembanyama from the Spurs. He's the one who's already been confirmed is going to be in it, which should be cool because, we've seen a lot of bigs actually win this event recently, in recent years when it's been the tournament format. So it'd be cool to see if he keeps up that trend. And just because we have Wemby in it, I feel like it'd be cool if we put Chet in it as well, Chet Holmgren. Especially if they faced off in the finals, how everyone's going to be talking about that for the next year or two until maybe there's a gap that separates. So, yeah, I mean, those are the 8 I have in this. And my prediction for the winner, it might be surprising, but I'm going to actually go with Brandon Miller to win this. Probably the biggest underdog pick, but I'm also thinking, like, if I'm Brandon Miller and I'm looking at the competition, like, he's probably given the least amount of chance. Maybe if people are really serious about winning this, because I don't know if anyone I picked on here has ever done the skills challenge, to be honest. Might be kind of concerning. Like if you go up against Brandon Miller, he's going to play like stress-free. So I actually have Brandon Miller taking home the crown here. 3-point contest, though. We'll move on to that. I have 8 people in it, just like normal. First person I have in here from the Milwaukee Bucks is Malik Beasley. At the time I'm making this, he is leading the league in 3-point percentage. I think he definitely has to be in it. And who knows? He could probably be the favorite to win it, honestly. My second person I have in here, he's won one before, but I could see him coming back, maybe doing it again, especially because he's had an insane 3-point shooting season, probably the best he's had in a long time, too. And that says a lot because this guy's been always a good 3-point shooter, and that's Kevin Durant from the Suns. He's shooting a decent amount of threes, and I think he's like second or third in the league in percentage. Like, that's crazy. You heard what Chet Holmgren had said about him, like, and his shooting, like, it's just kind of crazy. So I got to put Kevin Durant in here. I think also from the Pelicans, I think CJ McCollum will come in here. Now I know he missed some games, but I also think it's like it's an instance where he missed games, and it's like, you can't really fault him. But it's also like he's played enough games where I think he would qualify still. So give me CJ McCollum in the 3-point contest too. I'm picking the homer pick here, but from my Chicago Bulls, I'm going with Kobe White. I think Kobe White deserves to be in the not the All-Star game. Well, maybe, but I haven't got there yet. But I think Kobe White deserves to be in the 3-point contest. You look like he had the longest streak. He already had the longest streak in Bulls history with multiple threes in like consecutive games. He had the longest streak this season with 3 threes in games consecutively. And he's still shooting like around 41%, and he's shooting a career high on 3-point attempts, like 6 or 7 a game. So you definitely have to put him in here. I feel like, honestly, I'd be a little disappointed if he's not in the 3-point contest. And if you know me, I'm critical of my Bulls. So like, if there's something where I don't think we deserve it, I'm not going to say we deserved it. But I do think in this case, Kobe White deserves to be in the 3-point contest, and he should be in it. Next person I have on here from the Minnesota Timberwolves, I have Mike Conley. Might not be the coolest pick or the sauciest pick, but this is a guy who's been in the league for a while. He might have done the 3-point contest once before, but definitely didn't win it. And I think they want to try and maybe mix it together with like some young guys and some veterans. So I think he would be in it. From the Golden State Warriors, I have not Steph Curry, not Klay Thompson, not Draymond Green, not Andrew Wiggins. I have Dario Saric in the 3-point contest. I mean, this guy is shooting like 39% from 3 this year. Kind of had a resurgence season too. So I think he's warranted a spot in the 3-point contest, especially to put like the mix of like guards, wings, and bigs in there. And he can kind of be one of those bigs. So I got him in this. Also in the 3-point contest from the Pacers, I have Tyrese Halliburton. He was in it last year. He's still shooting pretty well. Maybe not as well as other people who might be deserving of it, but something I've noticed, especially the last couple of years, is it doesn't necessarily depend on your percentage to make it. Like half the people that make it might have like some of the best percentages in the league, and everyone else might have 36, 37%, or they're taking a lot of threes. So I think that, with Tyrese Halliburton, it's not even like he's that low, but I think like even though he's lower than maybe a few other guys that I'm going to snub on this, like I think he'll still get in, especially because it's in Indiana. And the last person I have in here from the Jazz, I have Lauri Markkanen. Markkanen's been insane shooting from 3 this year. For a long stretch, he was only behind Curry in 3-pointers made this year. So I think given that, like it seems like every time this guy is catching and shooting the ball, he's making it. I think he was in it last year, but I mean, he would be a really tough out, I think, this year as well, because I think he's shooting the ball even better, at least just from my viewing experience. So with these 8 guys in it, my winner is Lauri Markkanen. I actually do think Lauri Markkanen will win it this year. Like I said, he's just been shooting the ball so well that I feel like if he's been like able to set his feet, he seems like a completely more confident player the last couple years. So especially the way the Jazz have been playing, like they've been playing unreal. So I think this would definitely be a great year for him if he's in the 3-point contest. I think that, the shots would just fall, and I think he would walk away with a trophy. Moving on, though, to the dunk contest. Now, this is interesting. So the dunk contest, there's 4 people in it, and one person is technically already in it. Another person has been invited. The person that's already in it is Jaime Jaquez Jr. for the Miami Heat, which should be interesting because I think he had like a slam dunk contest performance in high school before, and he actually, I believe, won. So I'm excited to see how he performs in this. Maybe hasn't had too many dunks in the NBA, but there's always some people like that kind of come out of nowhere, and it's like you don't think they can dunk, and it's like, OMG, they can dunk. Like Pat Connaughton's a good example of that with the Bucks. Like I don't think anyone thought he was getting up like that, but then when he got into the slam dunk contest, they're like, wow, I didn't know he could dunk like that. So yeah, I think that he would be one of those guys. Another person I have on here, kind of a veteran, I think, But this guy's had a lot of posters this year, and I've said that I think he needs to be in the slam dunk contest, and it would balance it out between young guys and, an at least like veteran guy, because he's a lot of these other guys I have in here like rookies or sophomores. But I have Malik Monk. I mean, just think about all these posters that Malik Monk has put people on this year. Like, seems like he's probably had like 5 nasty dunks this year, even though the rest of his career put together maybe he'd have like 2. Like, it just seems like every time he attacks the basket, he's not fearing anybody. No matter if you're 7 feet tall or 7'5" or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, Malik Monk is more than likely still going to try to dunk on you, and a lot of times he's successfully completed a dunk. So I think Malik Monk definitely deserves to be in the slam dunk contest this year. And now we also got from the Houston Rockets, Cam Whitmore. He can get – I'm curious to see what his creativity would look like, but one thing I can say about him is he can definitely get up with the best of them. This is a guy who almost like his chin is like at the rim. So that's definitely not someone that you want to, I guess, like play around with in the dunk contest per se. And I think he could put off some pretty intense dunks. The last person I have on here, technically with the G League team right now, but affiliated with the Orlando Magic, I have Mac McClung, who was, last year's winner. He's been invited to be back in it, and I think he more than likely won't turn down that opportunity. This guy, I think he's listed at 6 foot. I don't even know if he's 6 foot. He's probably like 5'10", honestly, but he gets up. Like, his bounce is insane, like he gets up maybe like 40, 44 something inches off the ground, and he still is able to do so much in the air, like, between his legs, behind his back, like, under his leg the wrong way or something, or like off a lot. Like, he could just do so much in the air, and I got to put him in it. He's got to have a chance to go back to back. And for my prediction on the winner, I think he will go back to back. I think Mac McClung would win if this is who we see. I'm really interested, though. I think Cam Whitmore would be a really interesting person to go against, because I think he can get up so high that I'm curious to see like what he does in air, and maybe he can like pull off some moves that we've never seen before. And kind of that, I think hang time is maybe the biggest thing in the dunk contest too. And I think both those guys have it. Malik Monk, I see him more as like a power guy, granted, which could still win over some of the judges. And Hawkes Jr., I mean, I've seen some of his clips from his high school dunk contest. I think he's kind of like a little bit in the middle there, like a little bit between the power and maybe the bounce per se. So that's my predictions for the slam dunk contest. And now getting into Sunday for the All-Star game and predicting the All-Star rosters. So I'm going to start off with the Eastern Conference. I'm going to rattle through my Eastern Conference starters. I think the front court should be easy, but my backcourt, I have from the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, and from the Cleveland Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell. I also have from the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum, the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid. The front court, I feel like I shouldn't even have to explain, but the backcourt, Halliburton, he's currently leading in votes. I know he's been injured, but especially with it being in Indiana, I think that he'll probably still find a way to get himself in there. And with Donovan Mitchell, I mean, I'm just looking at like what he's had to carry on his shoulders with Darius Garland and Evan Mobley out. Like, it's hard to describe like what he's been doing to keep this team afloat amid like all the trade rumors. People said it was time to move on from Donovan Mitchell. Like, after that happened, they were sitting in like 8th when they went down. People probably thought their season was out of control at that point and it was going to spiral downhill. Now they're sitting in 4th, which is exactly where they were last year. And they're honestly a little bit closer to the 3 seed right now than they ended up being last year. So there's definitely a lot of time to right the ship. And we're going to have to see what happens. But I think he's definitely earned a spot to start in the All-Star game. And I think, honestly, he's probably a top 10, at the very least, in the MVP rankings, even if other people might think differently. And so for my bench lineup, the first 5, like off the bench, the main 5 unit, I guess I could just say the whole bench at once. So for the Milwaukee Bucks, I got Damian Lillard. The New York Knicks, I got Jalen Brunson. The Boston Celtics, I have Jalen Brown. The Orlando Magic, I have Paolo Banchero. The Miami Heat, I have Bam Adebayo. The Philadelphia 76ers, I have Tyrese Maxey. And from the Atlanta Hawks, I have Trae Young. I think Dame will definitely get in. I know it hasn't felt like the same dominant Dame year, but you can't deny that he's still playing really well on a team that's really high in the standings, so you got to give him some credit there. Jalen Brunson has definitely been the best player in the New York Knicks this season. Without him, honestly, I don't even know where they would be. So I got to put him in there and honor him for making his first All-Star team, because one could argue he should have made it last year or All-NBA last year, and he got neither. So I'm going to put him in the All-Star game this year. I think we also got Jaylen Brown. I mean, that shouldn't really be too much to debate. The Celtics are the best team in the NBA, and he's the second option on that team. Some nights plays like the first option, so I think he'll definitely find himself in there. I think Paolo Banchero will make it. The Orlando Magic have been great this year, despite Markelle Fultz being injured and Wendell Carter being injured, and now Franz Wagner's missed some games. So they've had so many injuries, but Paolo Banchero has stayed healthy, and he's kept his team in the playoff picture despite all of that, and despite them not even being in there last year. So they've taken a step up. He's taken a step up. He's improved as a three-point shooter. I think he definitely deserves to be in it. And I've even said I think he deserves to be, obviously he's not going to win MVP, but I think he deserves to be at least like one of the last guys on the MVP ladder. Maybe he won't win it. I think we all know that, but he deserves to have some recognition there. From the Miami Heat, though, Bam Adebayo, I think Bam will make it. I think he's been the best player on their team this season. And not only that, but he's also played a lot of games. I know there's no technical game requirement to play for the Heat or for the league, but just Jimmy Butler has missed so many games. I also don't think he really cares about the All-Star game. And you can kind of see that a little bit in his play because you haven't really heard much about Jimmy Butler the last month or 2 months. So I think Bam will be the representative for the Heat, though, because they're still the 5th or 6th seed in the East right now. I think Tyrese Maxey will get in there. He will be another first-time All-Star along with Jalen Brunson and Paolo. So I got 3 making it for the first time in the East. He really started off the year insane, and even though they were losing games while Embiid was out, I think he was still having great performances. And overall, throughout the season, he's kind of filled in the role ever since James Harden got traded that I think people didn't know was going to be filled in. And he's still kind of kept their, championship hopes alive. Because if he was playing like Tyrese Maxey last year, still good, but I think the Sixers would probably be in that tier of teams below them rather than the tier of teams at the top. And I think they're kind of a little bit up there with the top. And then I also got Trae Young. I know Trae Young gets a lot of hate, but I mean, a guy that's averaging about 28 or 27 points a game, he's also averaging 10 or 11 assists per game. Even though his team is not great, their record is bad, they're the 11 or 12 seed, he's still playing well enough. And I'm looking at all the other All-Stars, maybe you could say a guy like Julius Randle, because he's on a team that's the 7 seed or something like that. But for a wild card spot. But Trae Young is just a better player than Julius Randle. And without Trae Young, even though they're already down there, they'd probably be last, if he wasn't there. So those are my Eastern Conference All-Star picks. Now in the West, we got starting lineup. We got from the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic. From the Oklahoma City Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James. The Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant. And the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. I think Luka will start. He's always up there in voting. He always gets the respect from the players and the media, and he's deserved it. But I also do think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will start. I know right now he's 3rd in player voting, but I feel or in fan voting, but I think the players and the media will both give him way more respect than the person he's behind that I have on the bench. And that's why I think fan voting probably won't matter for this one. I think LeBron, though, will start. He's going to get respect from all avenues. Same thing with Kevin Durant. Same thing with Nikola Jokic. And that's why I think the rest of it will stay the same. Now, on the bench, I have from the Golden State Warriors, Stephen Curry, the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox, the Los Angeles Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, the Los Angeles Lakers, Anthony Davis, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, and the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker. Curry will make it. I like the fans are giving him more votes than SGA right now. I think that I think the players in the media will give more votes though to SGA this year because I think he's been more deserving and they'll recognize that. But I mean, Curry will still make the All-Star game. Same thing with De'Aaron Fox. I think he will find himself in there. Kawhi, definitely. I would even argue that Kawhi should be starting. It's just that he's not getting the fan votes enough that I don't think he'll probably end up starting, even if he's deserving of a starting spot. Anthony Davis, see, this is such an interesting case because the Lakers are so far down there in the standings. So to give them 2 All-Stars almost feels wrong. But LeBron's going to make it. So it's like, do you just take out Anthony Davis when Anthony Davis has been the best player on the Lakers this year? And I don't know. Like it just doesn't feel right, So both of them are going to make it. I think both of them will make the All-Star game, but it's just a little bit weird. Now for the Timberwolves, I think both Cat and Anthony Edwards will make it. They've been the best record in the West for most of the season, and both these guys are playing maybe not like supreme enough that either of them could start for the All-Star game, but I think both of them will definitely make it as a reserve. They've kind of been like a good like 1A, 1B tandem so far for the regular season. And then for the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker. Now, Devin Booker missed a couple games, but I think he's still played well enough. And the Suns have actually been winning a little bit more now that I think he'll definitely find himself in there. There are a few people that I did snub. Like, I did snub Zion. It just hasn't seemed like he's had the same individual season as, last year, the year before, or year before that. I guess not 2 years before because he wasn't really playing. But last year or 3 years before. Domantas Sabonis is another one that I could see making it. It just depends like what way the voters go. But it was hard because I'm like, I have to pick between him or Devin Booker. I know Devin Booker's missed maybe more games, but he's just a better player, I think. And then I really wanted to put Alperen Şengün on my all-star list. And what I will say is if there's one injury in the West, so there's one injury replacement available, I think Alperen Şengün will get it. He's been that good this year. The Rockets have been way better than anyone could have expected or predicted. Like, he has to get some recognition then. And if not, I'm going to be really upset because, like, this guy is really the whole entire offense. He's the best scorer. He's the best playmaker. He rebounds at a high level. So, I think his defense maybe gets too much hate as well. But Alperen Şengün is an all-star to me. It's just that only 12 guys get in, so it becomes tough. But overall, though, my prediction for the all-star game, the winning team, I have, obviously there's no captains this year. It's just like East versus West. The winner I have this year, I have Team Western Conference winning. I think last year it was Giannis's team that won. I believe Giannis was the captain last year. But Giannis's team won, and so it's technically felt like the East. But this year I think the West will win. My MVP though I have from the Dallas Mavericks, I have Luka Doncic. He's never won one before. I usually, for the most part, it's always a guy almost 99% of the time that starts in the All-Star game. And I'm looking at the West. Jokic never really cares about the All-Star game. Kevin Durant, LeBron, those guys have won it before. So it'll probably be between Luka and SGA. But SGA has also never started in the All-Star game either. So it might be like a completely different feeling for him. On the Eastern Conference side, Jason Tatum's going to be maybe another contender because he did show out last year. Donovan Mitchell too. I think he really, like, on any other year, he probably would have been the MVP of the All-Star game because he had like 40 points, but it's just Jason Tatum had like 50. So it was insane. I don't know if Embiid will really put in like an effort like that. I could see Halliburton, though, kind of going crazy because it is in Indiana. So overall, though, I think the West walks away with the trophy, and I think Luka will walk away with the MVP. I think he's also heard kind of some of the noise. Like, it feels like he's almost becoming a little bit maybe too disrespected lately, that I think Luka will want to maybe shut up the haters or shut up the people that have been comparing him to X player and Y player and Z player, and he's just going to want to go out and try and get that All-Star Game MVP. So those are my predictions for All-Star Weekend. And there was a lot, and yeah, now I need to drink some water because my mouth is, absolutely dry. Okay, good. All right. But anyways, that was kind of everything for the episode. Like I said, no mini game, but it'll be back next episode, so don't you worry. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about my predictions in the comment section below. And maybe there will be a whole new event at All-Star Weekend because we know they've liked to do new things with the play-in tournament and the in-season tournament. Maybe there'll be some All-Star Game like 1v1 tournament that I know people have been asking about for a while. So maybe we'll see that. And if that's the case, then I'm sure I'll have my predictions about it too. But yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I think that's going to do it for me. So yeah, I'm out. Peace.